Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Listen and grow as Del questions the status quo, encourages you to think differently, and empowers you to make a better life. Get ready as Del challenges core beliefs, seeks the truth, and reveals the roadmap to the lifestyle you really want. And now your host, multi-millionaire, national award-winning investor, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, Del Walmsley.
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. Today is Tell Del Tuesday, and the guest we have today is another great story of someone who was a disbeliever at worst, a hard-to-come-around believer at best, but yet came around and became totally successful, ran into some personal hardship, came out of the other end of it with a totally new life. With us here today out of Dallas, Texas, is Jeff Culverhouse. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey, Del. How you doing?
Good. Little hard to believe. Had some friends that were in it. Tell us the story, how you found out about Lifestyles, and we'll kind of mesh that in with why you decided to do something after so long a time not wanting to jump in when your friends were telling you about it. Just kind of tell us that story. A lot of people out there, Jeff, need this story because they're doing the same thing. Yeah,
yes, completely understand. Yeah, so I was first introduced to Lifestyles Unlimited by a couple of friends that were talking about joining this. They had heard about the thing from a coworker of ours, and they went to the 2-day. Of course, everybody's like, this seems too good to be true. So, they had to do their research and they looked everything up, and they decided to go ahead and join the multifamily pig group. And when they did that, they, kept trying to get me to do this. I was carpooling to work with them for our W-2 jobs, and they kept telling me to join. I'm like, it's, not for me. I don't have the capital. And so that went on for several years, actually, as they're making a lot of money, and, I'm not with my 401k. And eventually they kept on looking at it, and it just made sense to be a lead, to do the syndications themselves. And when they did that, that's when we finally joined Lifestyles Unlimited. We got into our first deal with one of our friends. Unfortunately, we missed we had two friends that were in. We missed his deal, and he had like 130% return in a year and a day. The other one we got into was great also. It was a 68% return in just over a year. And so at that point, we were like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And then it became, still carpooling with my friends. Then it became, you really should be a syndicator, be a lead. And I'm like, I don't need to. I'm doing pretty good with my job, and it's a good life, right? And the turning point for me was getting my yearly review after I had been working many hours, Saturdays and evenings, and sacrificing a lot for the family to work up my W-2 job. And when I got my raise that year, it was like 2.3%, and I kind of laughed at my manager. I'm like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Well, you're at the top of your pay band, so you need a promotion to get a better raise." And so the first thing out of there is I called my buddy that was a lead and said, "All right, I'm ready. You've been telling me to jump. I'm ready. Let's go." And that was in February of 2019. By July, we bought our first property.
So you had already been a member since 2016. You just passively invested? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Passively invested from 2016 to 2019. We were in a few deals. We have a huge friend network that's in Lifestyles, and so I had a bunch of friends that actually started becoming lead, and that was the deals I invested in. And really, between the mentors at Lifestyles and my friends that were leads, I had such a huge advantage becoming a syndicator, doing this, because I had so many people to lean on.
So getting started in the first place, Jeff, you're saying to me that the turning point for you was seeing your friends become leads, because even your friends telling you to do it, you wouldn't do it, but you didn't. You finally joined because of the pay thing. I'm trying to reconcile the difference here of what broke that seal. It's kind of like there's never enough reason to go forward until you hate where you're at.
Right.
I get that, but you know, what exactly broke that seal that said, okay, that's it, I'm going? Was it the job? Was it your friends starting to be leads? Which one was it?
Really, there's two breakover points. The first one was in 2016 when we saw our friends, our really, really close friends, gaining a lot of wealth and having their income was coming up because they started getting passive income through their investments, and that was, when they became leads, that's when we said, okay, we need to join this group. We can invest with our friends, and that'll be safe, and we trust them. So that was the breakover point for joining Lifestyles. And then we were in, and we meet so many good people, and there are a ton of leads to invest with and everything. But luckily for us, we had just a lot of friends, and we had the amount of capital we had was good for just investing with our close friends. But now we've now we've got a lot more friends in there, and it's so easy to find investments. But the second breakover point was my job not respecting me and giving me the raise what I deserved, and that was when I'm like, okay, let's move forward and do syndications. And then so 2019 is when that happened, and then we retired. I retired in May of 2021 when I bought my second deal.
Jeff, how easy or hard or complex was it to go ahead and put together your first syndication deal?
Yeah, it was so different, right? It was different than doing your W-2 job, and it becomes about working your network and talking to brokers and establishing relationships. And we honestly, I was at it was an Old Capital event. We were listening to Dr. Dotzauer, and I happened to be there and was just shaking hands with some brokers, and the guy mentioned a off-market deal up in Denison, and I'm like, I hadn't really thought about that market. It's kind of a little more of a tertiary market now. It's growing huge up there, but anyway, started looking it up, and we went and I went through the Lifestyle system and got that property, under tag, and we started talking to him. Come to find out, it was a Lifestyles member that owned the property, and after a few months, we going back and forth. We submitted the LOI, and kind of a difficult story because when we submitted the LOI, it got accepted, and then shortly after that, my wife's her father just all of a sudden died, and so we were having to deal with that, and we were like, okay, we're still going to go on, and we got under contract, and then as soon as we got under contract, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so at that point, it became, okay, what are we doing? Can we handle this? Can we do it? And we both kind of were like, this deal kind of, the numbers were looked so good, and it just kind of came to us fairly quickly because, like I said, we decided to go lead in February. So, after getting all of the, your initial stuff, gathering the team, getting everything together, it was March or so before we really started looking. And so I think it was April when we found that property. So it was real quick. We got that, and we're going through all this stuff, and we're trying to acquire a property. And but we went fine. We closed in July of 2019. It's kind of a weird time there too, because we're dealing with all the surgeries and everything, and we're learning how to self-manage a property, and I'm that and balancing my W-2 job. And we were really expecting Molly to do a lot more of the operations work on that property, but she was, obviously not in the best state to be working on that. So we balanced and juggled everything, and then come 2020, then COVID hits. So, but honestly, the property did really well through COVID. We had a couple of people skip, but luckily they didn't stay; they skipped. So we were able to refill those spots really quickly up there, and the property just performed really, really well. And we really had wanted to look at trying to sell it right at a year end, because we had our NOI was where it needed to be, and we thought we could make a really good return at that point. But we had a fire 3 weeks before we had it a year, and so we had to take care of that. So after that was actually really good, because it was an influx of cash to the property, and we were able to really renovate those 4 units that were damaged. And when we did that, we were able to push rents, of course, on those and just show more of a value. And so we sold it in August of 2021. So just a year and 4 months or so, I think. And it was total return to the total gain for the passive was 103%. That was including distributions and the gain from the sale. But really, really good. Everybody's happy with it, and that's how that deal went.
Well, that sounds excellent. Let me ask you a personal question on this. It's quite a struggle. I mean, just the story, you can just imagine going through having a job, having the wife going through all the cancer surgery, and starting a new business all at the same time, and you're doing it by yourself because she's obviously devastated by cancer. That's tough.
It was, I think it really comes down to how what you make of what you're given. And I always try to find the positives and everything. And things like, I was able to take some FMLA at work when Molly had the surgeries. And so that gave me time to at least, put the W-2 job on hold, and then I could focus on Molly and on the new jobs, the new learning how to operate and run a small business. So that's really kind of how we got through it.
All right, another personal question. You said the fire created a situation where you had to upgrade 4 units, and that really showed you what the prices could be. I've only got 30 seconds left here, so this is an important question. I don't know if I really want to throw it at you before the break, so let me go ahead and hold on to this one. But it's going to be along these lines. Would you have made the changes you made without the fire, which would have then led to the proof of concept that the property is worth a lot more than what you thought it was worth? Think about that one over the break. When we come back, I'll ask it to you again. We'll be right back with Jeff Culverson and the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Teaching you with a roadmap to creating the lifestyle you really want. Keep listening. The Del Walmsley Radio Show returns in moments.
There is a dream killer here somewhere today. You're going to run into somebody that's going to tell you this stuff doesn't work. Like Vinette said, it's a scam. This is probably a multi-level marketing program. Somebody is going to tell you it doesn't work because you're the wrong race, the wrong age, the wrong sex, the wrong sexual preference, the something or other. That this is all set up so rich people can be successful and all you poor people can't. And if you believe that, they've won. But if you don't, you win.
Don't believe the dream killers. Start winning today with the Lifestyles Unlimited free workshop. Get the knowledge you need to replace your income in 2 to 5 years, and then find out how to take action. Register for the free online workshop at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
You're hearing the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Want more life-changing knowledge? Access our podcast and listen on demand at lifestylesunlimited.com under the radio tab. Now your host, Del Walmsley.
Welcome back to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. With me here today on Tell Del Tuesday is Jeff Culverhouse out of Dallas, Texas. And as we went to break, I wanted to ask him a question about his first deal, whereas he had a fire, and the fire forced him to remodel 4 units. At the end of that remodel, Jeff, my question to you was, okay, now you've got these nicer units, and you rented them. Did you get a rent increase out of that, and if so, how much?
Yes, we got about $125 bump on those, and keep in mind that's on top of the pushes that we were already doing on ours. So we had that market didn't really have a lot of granite and stuff like that in there, but we were like, well, with this influx of cash, let's go ahead and see what we can do, and sure enough we were able to push it because our other rents, we were actually pushing probably $300 more than what he was at when we took over. And so now we're pushing another 100, 125 on top of that. So we really had a big bump in our, in the income. And so, this was 2021, and we sold the property for $103 a door. I think we bought it for $67 a door. So it was a pretty substantial increase. Now, you had asked, would we have done that had we not had the fire? No, we wouldn't have, because we didn't have the capital for that type of a renovation on them. We had a pretty slim budget going into it, because the intent was to really fix up the exterior and clean up the interiors. That he had already started doing pretty good turns on the units, and we just continued doing what they were doing before.
So my question then is, and this is just a conceptual type question, is you changed 4 units and you'd already had a great increase. You got more out of those 4 units. You now are forced to make a decision. Do we go ahead and renovate the other 18 units or 17 units, I guess it would be, and get the full bang for our buck out of this deal before we get out, or do we get out right away because it's only 21 units and we have no management team, maintenance team, whatever, and it's way too much personal work? Tell us that. Give us the brain conversation on that one.
Sure. Like you said, we increased it so much, so we were cash flowing. We were definitely cash flowing well. And so do you keep holding that? The investors like to have the cash flow. But we also, when we bought the property, it was deal 1. And so we had full intent of it being a value play deal where we sell in the first for a few years. And so, to keep in line with what we had promised the investors and to us, that, like you said, it's a small property. Self-managing means I'm the one up there showing units and walking with the potential residents and everything. So that played a big factor in it. Do we continue? We probably didn't have enough funds to redo all of them unless we ate into the cash flow. The other thing was we wanted to leave some meat on the bone for another, another maybe aspiring lead or something to come in and take over like that. So we wanted to leave meat on the bone as well.
Okay. So let's go on to your next one. You sold that one 103% gain. You went on and did a 42 unit, and you acquired that in 21. And let's see, that was April of 21, but you sold the other one in August of 21. So you actually had an overlap there of both properties for a while?
We did. And, that too was a deciding factor in me going ahead and retire. I had, at that point, I had just had 20 years in at my job, and I decided to go ahead and take retirement. It's at that point, it was really about keeping the insurance mostly is why, the official retirement was on that. But the reason I did that is because the property that we took over was a 42-unit property in downtown Plano, which sounds amazing, right? Because of the location, it truly was an amazing, and is an amazing property. And but it was like 57% occupied when we got it. And so because of the overlap with still having to try to sell a property, and now I'm taking over a heavy lift project, I'm like, I don't want the W-2 to get in the way of this. We take this as a huge responsibility to our investors, and that's always been the thing. We want this to be our true focus. And so we made the decision to, even though I'm not, I wasn't really replacing my six-figure income with this, because those properties were, it wasn't that as much money as I was making. So it was kind of a leap of faith. We knew what we could do and where we could go. And so I went ahead and retired and took it by the horns, and we because it was 57% occupied when we bought it, we were able to go in day one. We took over on I think it was a Friday. On Saturday, I was meeting with the contractors. Monday, we had them in one of the units, and we were tearing walls out and opening them up and everything. And I think within 2 weeks, we had a unit ready to go. And so we had like 5 units ready to rent out within the first couple of months. And so, we took that over in April, and by the fourth quarter, we did I think a 10% distribution. So it was that one was fast.
So I'm going to ask you a question that if not one, there's 1,000 people out there wanting to hear. That is, how did you deal with the insurance with your wife having cancer and all? I know there's COBRA for some period of time, but how did you overcome the fear of not being able to get insurance for her? Pre-existing condition.
So with my job, like I said, I had 20 years in, so I was able to keep the insurance. In fact, I still have that insurance. We have insurance for our employees as well, and we really that insurance was so good to us, and we wanted to keep the same insurance. So we have the same. It's VCBS is who we had with my other job, and like I said, we kept their plan just because it's a huge company that I work for, and they had a really good plan. And so we just, I get they don't subsidize it, so I pay what they were paying plus what I was paying. But in the long run, it's well worth it, especially considering what we still have a lot of medical bills and stuff like that because she's still getting treatments and.
So you were allowed to do that because you had 20 years in the job. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct. I was able to keep the insurance because I was able to retire. But that being said, when we bought our third property and we started having employees, then we offer insurance, and we use BCBS for our employees too. So we can actually change over to that. It's just that I'm going to have a hard time competing with a big company's insurance plan.
All right, so then you went on and bought another one, and that was another 150 units, and that was closed this year in February.
So that was, again, it had been since the end of 21, since we acquired the last one, and we had just sold our deal 2, and so we're looking for place another property. And we had a nice property come available in Bedford, Texas, 150 units. And this property has just been really well maintained. The owners have held it for like 22 years. and so they're ready to get out of it. One of the sellers didn't so much want to sell, so that was a little challenging at times, but we got that one, and it took a while to close that one. We were doing it at a kind of an interesting time. This is when everything it was February of this year, so there's a lot of instability, a lot of questions, and but we got it. We made it happen. It closed, and now it's in the 2 months. It's been good so far. We're able to push rents where we wanted to, and starting to make the changes. And we got a lot of large exterior capital projects on that we're looking at doing. We want to really make this property look great. It's in such a good submarket with a bunch of really nice properties around it, and we just kind of want to level it up for the people that live there and make it make it like what we typically have, where people are proud to call home.
All right, so a couple of quick questions, kind of like we only have a few minutes left, and I want to bullet point you a few things here. Number one, obviously all these people can't be your friends and family that are in your deals. 100 people's in your deal. Have you gotten over that you have to invest with your friends and family part yet?
Yes, definitely. Honestly, it never was that we needed to invest with friends and family. It just so happened that we had a bunch of friends and family that were becoming first and second time leads when we joined, and so that it became kind of a no-brainer to invest with those guys. We definitely, had that not been the case, would have invested with others. And plus, we've made so many friends now. If we invest in a deal, it's going to be with friends, because we've made friends with so many people that that we didn't know before. But as far as investors that we have, we have a ton of investors that the expo is awesome for meeting people, and we always do that, and that's where just going to different lifestyles events, and it's such a great community of people.
Next question, family members. You've said that in your resume here that you have lots of family members that have joined up and are also involved. How did that all happen?
So thank you, Dell, for the family and friends promotions that you run on Christmases. So talk about me being dragged into this to go. My mom and dad, they didn't want to join. My dad, he was okay with it, but Mom was really, really reluctant. And so they didn't join when I had my first deal. So they missed out on that 100% return. But they did capitalize on my second deal with that 126% return in a year. But no, once I got my mom and dad in, my aunts and uncles were already wanting to join too after I finally started talking to them about it. It's kind of something that most families don't talk about, is the money and stuff. And so it was hard for me to really break the ice there with that. But once I did, so my mom and dad joined, then my aunt joined, my uncle joined, and now my other uncle has joined. And so then my wife's sister, they joined, and her son joined. So we just got a lot of family that jumped on board, and they like it, and it's fun watching this. My sister and her brother and her husband has invested in quite a bit of deals. They're pretty active down in the Houston area, so. It's been great for the family. It makes it interesting at family reunions and holidays and stuff.
I bet it does. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It says here that you even got your daughter involved in some of this. Didn't you have a kid working in? Oh, it's your son. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my 16-year-old. He, really he's wanted to go to the properties a lot of times, and so he comes out there, and we started. I needed some help with inputting some invoices one day, and he said, "Sure, I'll do that." And
Jeff, appreciate you coming on, sharing your story with everybody. We got to cut you off now, and the rest of you out there, remember this: it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.
The information and opinions you hear on the Del Walmsley Radio Show are those of the host, Del Walmsley, his guests, and his callers. The Del Walmsley Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Del Walmsley Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.